Well,
Well, can you woo
li-
woo woo? That was nice. That was nice, man. Come on.
look at here. So, first and foremost, well, before we was rudely interrupted by me pressing the button I shouldn't have been pressing. Welcome to the check-in, y'all. This is a show. Well, first of all, welcome to Trailblazers Radio. First and foremost. Secondly, welcome to the check-in, the show that we talk about all things mental health from a male's point of view. I'm your host, Mr. Frederick Beaty. And to my left or to my right, however you are viewing her, I got my tag team partner, Miss Latanya Harris Gooden, also known as LHG. And then I got our third
Yeah.
member of our tag team. I got my brother, Mr. Tony Wade, from T Wade to the Point in the building.
Yes,
Look,
yes.
I wanted to first of all, we want to thank you guys so very much for being here tonight. We most
Yeah.
definitely appreciate it.
Mhm.
We most definitely appreciate your viewership and your listenership. You and your support means so much to us. I want to just thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. Especially how you guys have supported us through these last four parts of conversation, because this conversation has been a very heavy one and
But
very
necessary.
yes, very necessary, heavy but necessary conversation, because I think we need to really just have these conversations. But we'll get to that conversation, but in a moment. But before we do all that, man, I want to just say, just show gratitude to first of all to my team, Miss LHG, Tony Wade, Kai Rodriguez, um, Coco Fenton. And look, man, you guys are amazing, and I just want to say that from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate y'all. I really do love y'all. I thank y'all so
Oh,
very much for if I don't say it enough, I'm gonna keep saying it. Thank y'all for taking this journey with me
absolutely.
to this
Mhm.
podcast journey with this journey of self-discovery, as well as self-enlightenment, as well as just healing is too healing
Yeah,
as well.
that's
I
what
appreciate y'all taking this journey with me, because it is, oh Lord, it's a crazy journey, but it's a so worth it journey. So I appreciate y'all for just riding out with a brother. So
and I just want to say, and I
So,
will continue to say, keep doing what you're doing. These topics, these conversations, these collaborations, these conversations, they are necessary. Um, somebody got to do the heavy lifting.
yeah,
mhm.
man.
And why not us? Somebody has to do the heavy lifting because we are struggling in the area of relationships, whether it's family, romantic, children. There's some struggles going on in every type of relationship. So somebody got to be willing to be vulnerable enough to say, I'm ready to talk about how I stand up in relationships. You know,
Mhm.
lump in the throat and everything. You get that lump because some conversations you're like, it be
Right.
just like that, you know. But that's because you hitting that spot, and it needs to be discussed. If you are triggered by some of this, we're sorry, but not sorry, because in a way, we need to address some really deep rooted pain that we've been dealing with in our own minds. Our mental health has been at stake. I want the men to continue to have this safe space. Shout out to Man Cave Conversations. Shout out to men having a space where you all can share and not have that nagging in your ear. Because we can be like, we can do that. Yeah, we can.
Yep. Big
Yeah.
shout out to Real Bravado Network. What's up, TJ? How you doing?
What's up,
Thank you
bro?
for coming in. Thank you for coming in and supporting and things of that nature. I appreciate you, boss.
Mhm.
Um, Besides the three of us that are arrayed right here on the screen, man, I got two special guests in the building. I got Mr. Mo Austin, and also I have Miss Annette Day in the building. I'm gonna bring them up here in just a moment. But to walk back a little bit,
All
to
right
talk
now.
about what we talked about in part four. Part four was like, whoo, let's just say part four was like
Mm-hmm.
extremely heavy, because we talked about a whole bunch of things. One of the things that we all agreed upon and we talked about it toward the end of our conversation, was that we had to find a way to bridge the gap
Mm-hmm.
um, between now. So bridge the gap between our children. As now, I'm saying this as black men. We have to find a way to bridge the gap between our children, and we have to find a way to bridge the gap between us and our women. And me and my brother Tony had a very,
All
very
right.
great conversation last night. Not last night, but
Mhm.
yesterday.
Yeah.
That conversation lasted 4 whole hours, and
Yeah,
a
it
lot and a,
does.
Wow.
and a lot of our and a lot of that converse, a lot of our conversations, a lot of what me and Tony talked about is going to spill out here.
Mhm.
But and I want to preface what I'm about to say with this. If if you're not interested in bridging the gap between between your children, then this ain't the show for you. If you're not interested in repairing a relationship with your children, then this ain't the show for you. If you
No.
want to be a father who doesn't want to know your children, then this ain't the show for you.
Wow.
So I'm giving y'all that warning right now. If this ain't what you want to watch, or this ain't what you want to hear, or this ain't this is not your cup of tea, then
Mm.
you have fair then you have equal opportunity to leave quietly. And I'm not being mean or anything like that, but a lot of these
Mhm.
conversations that we have are not for people, or not for all people.
Right.
Especially when it comes to black men who are fathers and want to have relationships with their kids, and who want to try to at least repair or mend that relationship with their kids. That's important.
It
So
is.
the topic of tonight's show is the check-in, value and values part 5, bridging the gap with our children. It is very important that we bridge the gap. But before we do that, let me bring my special guest up. Let me bring Sinette and let me bring Simone up right now before we even roll up into this. Say, Simone, what's up, Sinette?
Hey, how you doing?
Um,
Hey, what's going on, people? How y'all doing? Appreciate y'all for coming up tonight. I really do appreciate y'all for coming in for part 4 the last week, and I appreciate y'all coming out for part 5 for tonight.
yeah.
Um, so to start off this conversation, one of the things I think that's very important for us as black men is that we really need to bridge the gap that exists between us and our children. More
Mhm.
importantly,
Correct.
our sons,
Mm.
because our sons are a direct reflection of who we are.
I
They may not look like us, but in ways they act like us. They take on our characteristics, our idiosyncrasies. They take on the characteristics of both mother and father, and that's very important to understand. But before and this is one thing I mentioned earlier. Before we can even instill values in our kids, we got first of all we got to try to instill values in our kids. We got to make sure that that gap is bridged,
Mhm.
because we can't teach anything. We can't teach anything if we don't bring anything over the bridge. Our kids
Mhm.
don't learn if we don't offer them anything. Our kids can't understand anything if we don't teach them anything.
Mhm.
And they damn sure won't learn anything unless we teach them, but also we allow them to have trial and error too.
Mhm.
What do y'all think about that?
I
can I
agree with that.
piggyback off of something real quick too?
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
I'm one of the folks with no kids, and so my ideas might be a little off base. But as someone that worked as a teacher from daycare up to high school and college, I say this to parents all the time. It's not my job to parent your kids. I can be a teacher, but
Mhm.
my views are going to be different from your views. So it's up to you to instill what you want your kids to do and be. And you have to start. They thought I was crazy when I said the 2 and 3 year olds. I said, please, these 2 and 3 year olds are watching and mimicking what I'm doing. So
Mm,
you have to, at home, have to set the example for what you want your kids to do, and you have to start early. I
Mhm.
right.
mean, as a parent, y'all have to maybe enlighten me on what's too early, but I don't think a 1-year-old is too early. You have to start early because these kids, and like one kid
Mhm.
would come to the daycare class telling what's going on in the house, and he didn't understand what he was
Ooh.
saying,
Yes.
but what he's saying gave the implication that his mother was a stripper
Wow.
because he was using words that he really didn't understand at 3, 4, 5 years old.
Mhm.
So that's what I'm saying. And in this parent, I went to school with the father. That's a whole nother show in itself. And I told the father he's a nice person, but they had their issues. They're from different races, so that played a part. But I told him, I said, "Are you okay with your baby mother leaving your kid in the lobby of the daycare class school with nobody watching the kid? Tell me where
Mhm.
that makes sense." And I throw this out to y'all as parents. What parent in their right mind, if the teacher's not there, why would you leave your kid in the lobby with the secretary or the maintenance guy? That don't make sense to me. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't
First,
know.
first of all, what's the reason why the kid's there to begin with?
The mother she was a mail carrier, so she had to be to work at 7. So sometimes she would get there a little before 7.
Mhm.
I said, "Well, you know what time the daycare center open.
Mhm.
So if you need to find one that fits your hours to change your hours."
Mhm.
That's my view. I might be wrong. Don't hate me. Don't hate me, parents, but I'm saying don't leave your child. Now, thankfully, that daycare center wasn't an abusive type of place, but you don't control who comes in and out of the building.
Mhm.
No, they don't. And I don't, you know what, the question to me lies like, and you already answered that question, but why is there not a daycare that's closer to where that's like more, like you said, more to your hours and stuff like that? You mean if you got to be at work at like 7 in the morning, I mean, most daycares ain't even open at that time, at least to my knowledge anyway.
But that would take a parent making a child a priority.
Right.
Please understand that everybody who has fiery loins and sexual desire doesn't qualify as being a good parent. It just means
Facts.
our bodies were biologically able to produce a child. It
Right.
doesn't mean that when that child is born, that there's an automatic switch that goes on that says, "Oh, I'm a nurturer. Oh, my child is a priority." And some people are so young when they engage in sexual activity and for the wrong reasons that that child becomes a second thought. Oh
Facts.
yeah, the child. Oh, the reason why I can get more welfare money, I could keep popping out these babies. So it's
Oh,
we're
girl, don't
talking
get me
about a
started
person
on
who's
that. Ooh.
responsible, and a person that's responsible and that wants their child to be cared for in the best environment is going to find the best in care. And if you can't provide it, you're going to get somebody in your village. Hey, granny. Hey, somebody. Does anybody have some time to help me watch a little rerun that I can say is a safe environment where people ain't coming in and out? Because if you haven't vetted these daycare centers, you don't know who's coming in. The owners, you don't even know what their backgrounds look like. You trying to get the cheapest 2 for 10. No, you can't. You can't shop for everything at the Dollar Tree. Dollar Tree daycare
Mhm.
gets you
Yeah.
Dollar Tree cheaper,
Yeah. I want
okay?
to add
Mhm.
a
You
and I
may have
want
to
to add a
pay a little
point
bit
with you guys.
more for
Lord.
quality, background check,
Yeah.
people who
Can
have
I add something to
referrals.
that?
Right.
Paying more don't get you better daycare because I worked at both sides, the low
Yeah.
end and the high end. High
Yeah,
end,
that means anything that you want, that's quality, you're going to pay for. So why
Yeah.
wouldn't that be necessary for your child? You can't
but
do this good.
quality didn't always come with that high price tag these parents paid. Let me tell you. It
Mhm.
was
And I want
nothing but the kids are sitting in there just playing. They weren't being educated right. The
Mhm.
low end one did more education than the high end one.
Mhm.
It just it was just a low end. But it goes to show where to go back. The the father should have was unfortunately wasn't in the picture as much as I felt he should be, and because we were schoolmates, I was like, "Yo, bro." Now he was like half white, half Spanish. I'm like, "Bro, you need to step in and do something," cause the boy he was asleep from like 7 in the morning till about 9, 10 o'clock. He's wore out, so that tells me as an unlicensed teacher, he wasn't getting sleep at home. He's up ripping and running all night. So he don't have I mean, and again, it was hard for me to talk to her because we didn't have that friendship. She didn't like what I had to say. That's why I said it's hard to talk to parents, but parents have to be receptive.
Right.
As long as I'm talking to you respectfully.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm being disrespectful, then I can see you blasting me. But if I'm
But
coming to you,
if we're going to talk about bridging the gap, I say, Fred, let's start with what are the gaps?
right,
What are the reasons? What are these gaps? Because you can't start a bridge unless you really know what the gaps are. Are we talking generational? Are we talking about maybe mama drama because she in the ear? What are some of the
So,
gaps that
Lord have
need to
mercy.
be bridged?
Woo. So there's a lot of them. One you mentioned two of them, generational, and
right,
also baby mama drama. But also there's so many other things that we can say that I can throw in there. One of those things is like so generational baby mama drama, and one of the things, but that I really want to hop on, that I really want to touch on first is that the unwillingness of a father to want to even be around.
Okay, that's
In
major.
order, in order, brother, gentlemen, and I know, Tony, and I want T to come in on this one really, really quickly. But gentlemen, in order for us to bridge a gap with our children, we have to want to bridge that gap.
Yes.
How you gonna bridge a gap if you're not willing to build the damn bridge?
Mm.
right,
Facts. It takes it in that instance as a father. It there are elements to it. We're gonna go back to the levels. Like
Yeah,
Levels and layers.
like we did last week. We got to go. These things are layered, and there are some things that have to be in. And I think we might have even touched on it last week, but there are some things that have to be in play
Mhm.
in order for gaps to be bridged. Um, when you're talking in terms of establishing relationships with your children, um, there are things that you have to look at, like two people that get together. And it's funny because, like, going back on what was just said, you have to, when you get two people together, yes, they can have a kid, they can have a child, but at the end of the day, what are their thought processes? Because the
Yes.
first layer of that is when you get with somebody, you don't talk about whether it be a step parent or whether it be a blood parent. They don't talk about what's expected inside of
Mm.
the relationship between parent and child
Yes.
on either end. The women and the men, we don't get together and sit at the table and say, okay, now how do you want to raise the kids?
Right.
How are the kids supposed to be raised? When you do the step parent thing, whether it be woman or male, we don't sit there at the table and be like, okay, so how would you, what role would you like me to play? And a lot of times, even when that question is brought up, it's vague.
Yep.
Like, how do you want me to
very.
parent? Just be a parent. If they need something, if they, I just want you to be a dad, or I just want you to be a mother to my kids. Don't be vague with that. Don't be vague, because then when the other person does what they want to do, it can be misconstrued as being wrong, or not misconstrued, but it can be looked at as being wrong. And when two people get together, a lot of times, most times, 9 times out of 10, they're brought up two different ways. So they're
Mm.
gonna have two different processes on thought processes on how to deal with children or how to bring them up. And that's just one
Mhm,
variable, but that's a big variable,
mhm.
because that starts the foundation from when the child is small, especially if you've birthed them from infancy all the way up to, I mean, if you're, say, a step parent, you're coming in, you still, to forge a relationship with a child, In a lot of instances, I'd say it takes both parents to do that.
Agreed.
Um,
Yes.
it takes both parents, and they have to be on the same page. Because if they're not, you're gonna have two different things going on, and it ends up leading to just um, problems with the parents themselves. Not only now are you trying to forge a relationship with a child who you gave birth to or who you're a step parent to, you're also dealing with the issues that have come up now as a couple because mama
Yeah.
don't like the way
Yes.
daddy said something or daddy don't like the way mama popped the child or X, Y, it goes on and on. I think it starts there. And I can testify to that and I can speak on what I know because my wife is on here now, so she could tell you. When we went to counseling before we got married, we
Mm-hmm.
had the pastor, we had two pastors, and we had a
All
pastor
right.
tell us they thought, we were a great couple together. They believed we were awesome as a team, and we are. But thought that we had great ideas. They saw the love we had, and they said in their closing, if anything was to break our marriage apart at all, it would be the kids because there's two different idealisms that come into play, and you have to be on the same page in
Yes.
order for it to work. And I think it starts there. And even like with your situation, Fred, when you were talking last week, whether it be that the parent is pulling away, you had an issue where your ex didn't want the child to have anything to do with the father. That's a problem. It starts there. If we're gonna bridge anything, we need us first the couples that have these children in their lives or the two parents need to get together and talk
Yes.
about stuff because we can't bridge. That's where it starts.
Yes.
Yep.
It starts in the home. It starts with the parents.
Yep.
There's a lot of stuff that comes after that. There's a whole lot of stuff. These kids get older now. They get older. They're doing their own thing. They're learning, and they're not just learning from home. They're learning from school. They're learning from the internet. They're learning from TV. They're
Right.
learning,
Yep.
and they're inquiring these things in, and they're pretty much pulling these things into their own existence. They're becoming not necessarily what the parent, and we talked on that, Fred. They're
Yep.
becoming not necessarily what the parent aligned for them,
Mm.
which becomes another problem. That's a whole nother problem too. We got to touch that. But
Yep.
at the end of the day, there has to be some type of connect on that issue with the parents. How are we going to raise our child? That way, the child knows from both ends of the spectrum. This is what's expected of me. This is how this is supposed to work.
Yes.
If it doesn't work that way, then you got your children. You're playing both parents.
Absolutely.
I'll go to this
Mhm.
parent because that parent's going to say no. I'll go to this parent because this parent is easier to talk to. I'll go to this one because this one ain't going to bust my behind because I did
Mhm.
what I wasn't supposed to do. Yeah,
Mhm.
you get that dynamic that plays in as well. So for
Mhm.
me, I say if we want to talk on bricks, I'll lay that first brick
Okay.
to that bridge. And that first brick would be that the parents need to talk before they start having kids. If you're going to lay down with somebody and have a child,
Come on.
even if it's unexpected, talk about it. If we have a child, how would you raise it? How would you want us to raise our child? How should we
Right.
do that? If you're going to marry into a child from family, a family that already is established with children, get with
Mhm.
that person and talk to them about, okay, how are we going to raise the children? What's the expectation?
Mhm.
And I'm not going to down women. That's not what I do. I mentioned that last week. I'm
Mhm.
pro woman.
All
But
right.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. When you're a man and you
Mhm.
get into, I can't speak for you, Fred. I'm not going to say you had this issue, but I'm going to speak on men for men
Speak
when I
on it, bro.
say if you're a man and you get into a relationship with a woman who has children, I'm all for that. But you need to have that talk because
Yeah.
as men, some of us are raised to be heads of the house. So
Yes.
coming in and developing this family, we're going to be heads of the house. Um,
Yes.
Now, me and my wife, we have a joint venture thing where, we talk about stuff. I don't make major league decisions without her. I don't
Okay.
just go
Right.
out. I'm not going to just go out and buy a car. I'm not just going to go out and buy a house. I'm not just going to go out and spend $1,000
Mhm.
without conferring with her. It's a 50-50 split.
Right.
But when you get in a relationship and she has children, now you have to consider what her thought process is. Because some women out there don't want any man telling their children what they should or should not do. You say women will say, okay, I
Yep,
need
that's
somebody
true.
that's going to be a father to my children. They're going to raise up my children. Okay. But as soon as we start, then the conditions come in. But you have to do it the way I
Yes.
would do it. Now, you haven't had the conversation,
Yeah.
but
Right.
I need you to
So
do it the way I did it. If little Johnny
Right.
runs to mommy and says, he yelled at me, next thing you know, she got a hammer in one hand and a skillet in
Ooh,
another, and
nunchucks on the foot.
she's at the bedroom door talking about what you
Ooh,
say to my kid. Why you
come on.
yelling at little Johnny?
now
No,
Yes.
it's
like
her kid.
what are
It
we
was her
doing?
kid to
What
be
are we
yelling.
doing? You can't do that.
Right.
It's a suck
True.
situation because here's another thing that I have experienced in life is the children will get upset. So the mama gets upset. When the mama
Mhm.
gets upset, there are times where the mama might, the mama might even, that's another thing we got to make sure we don't do. You don't put it on Front Street. Um,
Nope.
we're battling with the children sitting there watching, which develops a divide. You know
Yes.
what I
Right.
mean?
Yep.
Now, truth be told, there you want your children to be able to trust you, be able
Mhm.
to depend on
Right.
you, and
Absolutely.
Right.
and now and here's some things that like I learned in my life. There are times where I'm wrong. Now, if I yell at the child and I'm wrong in my assumption on things,
Yes.
then I possibly may, if I outwardly came out at that child, then I may deserve to be came at openly because I did that. But then there are those times where in my head, I'm like, okay, well, pull me to the side. Tell me what
Yeah.
I did and give me the option to go back
What's right. Yeah.
and correct that because I made that mistake
Yeah.
and that was my mistake that I need to correct. But correcting it
Absolutely.
in front of them like that would create a divide because now it's like, well, mommy's on my side. So then
Right.
that's how that ends up playing out in almost every scenario now. It's okay, you're the bad guy, mommy's not. And or you're the bad guy, daddy's not. And we don't want that divide. It's always that first brick. You've got to talk about the kids before you venture into having them or creating a family that has them. That
Yes.
brick is essential. Without it,
Oh,
it's the catalyst for a lot of things that happen inside the house. If we
yes.
want to talk about forging those bridges from the house, there are a
Right.
whole lot of other issues. Again, layers. But
Right.
this is, I'm feeling like this brick here is the very
Mhm.
first brick. It's the foundation,
It is.
especially if
Yep.
you're having a child together. You know, brought them home from the hospital together. You're working in the house together. That brick is the very first brick you start with. Just my opinion, but that's the very first brick you start with because it will disrupt a whole lot of other stuff later.
Ooh, come on.
Yep. Come on, Simone. I know you got something to say. Come on.
I want to say I agree with exactly everything he said because I've seen several videos to where the parents, one parent will already have had a child or children, and then they will treat, you know, the other parent will treat the child different than their kids or what have you, and vice versa. And it's like if y'all would have had that conversation in the beginning, it wouldn't be like that because it clearly says a house divided among itself cannot stand. So
All
therefore,
right.
if
Teach on.
everybody's
Mm, mm,
if everybody's going against each other, nobody's treating each other fairly. The mom's not treating his kids fairly, or he's not treating the mom's kids. Whatever. It's going to be a I have to get announced all the time. Everybody's gonna have to walk on eggshells because, oh my God, I can't ask daddy for this because that's not I'm not his child, so I gotta go ask mama.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
And my
It's
kids and my wife have, and I'm not proud of it, but in certain scenarios, my kids and my wife have had to walk on eggshells, based on
mm,
emotional
I've been there
duress,
too.
the emotions are high and everything, or I'm in a situation where, because that's what another thing it does is sometimes it'll build up where one of the parents may say, like my wife might be able to say, well, I can't really talk to him. I can't talk to him because he don't
Mm,
listen. I might be like,
mhm.
well, my opinion don't really matter, so why say anything at all? That's what
Yeah,
all of this could be. It could be dealt with a lot better if you
mhm.
have that talk. And we don't talk
Right.
like that. We don't. You mentioned it last week. We don't go to we don't go to the table anymore. We do
The
not go to
table
the
is
table.
no. And when
We
we
don't.
do go, and if we go, we're coming in with a jump off spirit.
There it is.
Woo.
We
We're
there it
coming
is.
already guns blazing. Okay, come on. Double Dutch. Bring it. Bring it. And you know why? It's one word. Trauma.
Yep.
Mm,
I
And see,
really
mm,
believe,
woo.
and we talked about this on my show Saturday, when you are dealing with parents that have been traumatized either in their own childhood, adolescence, teenage, so on, that same formula, that same DNA is rising up in their parenting.
mm,
Because
mm,
I put myself out here. I parented and created a dynamic in my home when I got married where I built a wall around my daughter because I couldn't stand my own stepfather. I didn't want my daughter to have that. He always snitching. Stitches get
mm.
stitches. So I
Lord.
inadvertently built this
Wow.
wall around her. Like, nope, don't say nothing to her. But you made a good point, T Way. You said if you realize that you came across wrong, you would say, hold on, can you take me to the side? You acknowledged that maybe, just maybe, I got it wrong. Maybe my assumptions were incorrect. Maybe I didn't have enough intel. Maybe I came in too late and didn't even know the full scope of what was going on and made some statements that really weren't 100% truthful, unbeknownst to me. You
Hmm.
said that, and that's
Woo.
the piece that people miss. As parents, we can get it wrong.
We
All the
can,
time.
Just because we
and I've done it. I've gotten it
me
wrong
too,
plenty of time, plenty of
just got
time.
it yesterday.
And
Yes.
then I get mad. I get mad when my wife was getting mad, but at the same
Mhm,
time, like I wasn't knowing what I was doing at the time. So I needed my solution to that is okay, well, if I'm doing wrong, pull me to the side, talk to me, and let
right,
me know you had this dead wrong. Because I might not know,
right.
I might not have seen it in my haste or my emotional status. I might not
Exactly.
have seen it. So it's like, okay, let me know. And that's where, again, like my wife is the queen of my heart and everything. She would be quick to let me know, look, you got it wrong. And
Mhm,
this is what was supposed to transpire, but you twisted it and got it wrong. She would
mhm,
do that for me. But the problem was in the beginning, because of the way that I was and because of what she believed, a lot of times that played out
mhm.
in front of the kids. And it's like that's something that can't, to me in my head, I'm like, that's something I didn't feel that could happen. Now, one of the reasons why I felt that way is because the dynamic is I'm the stepfather.
Yes.
So coming into it, I
Yes.
didn't want to have a persona built to where I'm automatically the bad guy
And
in
that can
everything
happen
that's going
very
on.
easily.
Right.
Yes.
So I'm like, if you take me to the side, then let me try to fix it. This was my thought process. Let me
I get
fix
it.
it on
Mhm,
there. That
mhm,
way it's not okay. Well, because she's proven her point to the kids over and over again. And I swear, I don't know that there's a better mother out there right now. No disrespect to people that have children. I'm just speaking for mine. There's
Mm-hmm.
not a better
Right.
woman that's a mother that I know of who will give until there's nothing left to give, and then still try to give. I
Mm-hmm.
love her to death for that. But again, coming to the table as a step parent, you don't want to be the enemy jump off right off cuff. You don't
Right.
let you because
I
it
get that.
builds up. Yeah, those are other little bricks or pebbles that can mess up things later on,
Yes.
and it makes the
Yes.
connections uncomfortable. And in the meantime, like if you're
Yeah.
somebody like me, that's like, okay, well, you know what? If I'm gonna keep getting it wrong and I'm gonna keep being the bad guy in the midst, then I'm just gonna step back. Now that's not what
Mm-hmm.
she wanted. You know what I mean? I need you to be a father. Okay, but you want me to cut through. It's the minefields that you mentioned, Fred. It's the minefields
Ah,
that you mentioned last
yes.
week.
Yes.
It's like, okay, well, you want me to be a father, but at the same time, I just got slammed 5 different times that I can recall in
Mm-hmm.
front of them to make me look like the bad guy. But I got to ignore that. As a man, we got to ignore that and we got to push through and still be the head.
Right.
And
Hold on,
it's a hard
hold
path.
on.
Right.
I want to
You
say
you
something
not I'm
before
not
I
gonna
leave.
go ahead, Simone.
Um, I appreciate what he said because, like he said, have that conversation. But not only between the two of you as husband and wife or what have you, have the conversation with the children too, if
Mm-hmm.
they are able enough to understand. Sit them down and like, hey, how do you feel about I'm dating so and so. How do you feel about this? Do you feel this okay? Are you comfortable? Blah 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 blah. Because that way we all know, like we said, we are all on one accord and we
Mm-hmm.
know what's expected of each other, how
Mm-hmm.
we want each other to um, move accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not about just the conversation with the husband or the wife or the stepmother, stepfather, what have you. It's a conversation with the whole entire family that's going to
That's
eventually
good.
become a family.
Right.
But
Because,
I can respect that, Simone, but only to a degree. Now
yeah,
here's why. Here's my question. If you have two people who direly love each other and they
hmm
know they work well together, now okay, let me introduce you before we go any further. Let me introduce you to the kids. Now, if you have, say, for example, two kids and they decide they don't like this man that you're with,
Mm.
they can't give you a solid
Yeah.
reason. They just don't like this man that you're with,
I
and they're going
agree.
to give him a struggle. So, with that,
I agree.
as the woman, what do you say? Well, my kids don't like you, so I can't. Whatever future we thought we had, we can't have because my kids don't like you. What do you do
No,
with that? And that's a question. What do you do with that?
That's a
Because
good one. It could happen.
that that's
right.
huge.
Yep.
That's
It is.
So
huge.
what we would do is we all sit down together and have a conversation. Okay, why is it that you don't like Mr. Johnny or whoever? Why you don't like Miss Sarah? What did they do to you, or what feelings did they bring to you to have you feel as though you don't like them or you don't care for them? Is it something that they said or done to you that makes you feel like you don't care for them as much? That's where where that conversation will come in, where we all sit down at some space and we say, hey, okay, you don't like him, I understand, okay, but is there a reason or any other reason why you don't like him? If there's a no, then I get it. There should be a reason. There should be a valid
There should
reason.
be.
There should be a valid reason.
I
However,
wouldn't, and it's just my opinion, but I wouldn't put all parties in one play at first. If I know that
mm,
that's a problem, if I have say 3 kids and I know 2, 3 kids and I know they have a problem with the woman I'm bringing in, I know this problem exists, so I am going to pull my kids to the table and I'm going to have a sit down with them and say, okay, this is what I want to do.
Right.
How if you have if you have issues or you have thought processes, I need you to explain them to me now. Let's have a conversation about them now. And that's what we do. Before I bring the missus in and put her in the middle of something that can get heated and breed more contention and
Mm-hmm.
maybe even a deeper separation. I wouldn't do that. And then what I would do is I would bring her to the table after I've talked to them, because they say cooler heads prevail. And after that conversation, there should be some type of resolution. But then we
Right.
can come to the resolution together. So I will approach her. I'll say, this is what we got going on. I've talked to them. I brought that on me because these are the kids. I'm talking from a step parent thing, but I'm like, this is the issue that we had. So I took it upon myself. I talked to them. I got an understanding to see what was going on. I would put that on me first. I would
Right.
literally put that on me
Right.
first. Like, I'm not gonna bring my wife into
Mhm.
that or my girlfriend at the time and be like, okay, we need to have a sit down because my kids don't like you. Like, you're not gonna do that because
Well, my question is this,
I don't want to
just
put
like
her on
couples
Front Street. You know?
in counseling, it's almost as if these kids need some level of counseling too. You're coming
Yes.
into an already existing program. This is real talk. I've been through this in two ways. I've been the stepchild, and I've had a husband and a daughter who had a stepfather. Is this
Mm,
dynamic really intricate depending on all the key players? If you're coming
Yep.
into this child's life at 12, 13, 14, they may have never had a father before. They've never been fathered. And then you may have a man coming into it that never has had a father or been a father. There has to be some level of grace and multiple conversations, as you said, T Wade, because this is getting ready to change the flow of life. If it's just been me
mhm,
and my daughter, ride or die, that it's just me and her for 12, 13, 14 years of her life. And all of a sudden, bam, who is this dude? Why is he
mhm,
here?
mhm.
Why is he
Yeah.
our Cheerios? Why is he drinking our soda pop? I don't know. I mean, we can talk because do you not like him because you're not used to him? Do you have a legitimate reason? I didn't like my second stepfather because of what the first stepfather did.
Mhm,
It wasn't even about him. I was so jacked up from having been violated by another stepfather to a kid. All stepfathers are in this box. Oh, y'all bad. I don't
mhm,
want any more stepfathers. There was no conversation from one marriage to the other, no cool down period. We dragging these kids across relationships like we're going on National Lampoon's Great Adventure.
mhm,
And the
mhm,
children are coming out twisted because it's like, is this my daddy? Is you my daddy? Is you my daddy? It's a revolving door in some cases. And the
yeah.
children are becoming mentally disturbed, behavior problems, grades dropping because they don't even feel safe no more. Because soon as mommy and him get into it, he go out the front door and here comes Tito in the back.
Can I give you
Exactly.
an example of something that as an adult I can laugh at it, but as a child I couldn't, I didn't understand it. My mother did something, I love my mother dearly, but she let me grow up thinking a man was my father and he wasn't my father. And I was just like, I used to believe, yeah, I used to go over to technically his people house, and I used to say my dad, and then they go, that's the hood would say that's not your father, that's your brother father, but
Mm.
we got family pictures together as a family unit, and I never knew who my dad was till I was about 16, and so he
Mhm.
set me up to have this issue. And to mind you, this one who I thought my father was actually a very good man. He was a good father. His people were good to me. So it's no hate or love lost to him. But I was looking at my mother was like, how the hell you gonna tell me who my dad was?
Mm.
See, that's nuts. That is very crazy. That's a setup for just complete disaster because
Right.
how you that's like you being deceived by your mom saying, "Hey, this dude is your father," but then all of a sudden you meet your real father, and all of a sudden now there's a sense of confusion there. Like,
Well, see, let me be clear. My real father was never in the picture, regardless. It was like we seen each other and was like, hey, I know y'all better than I know my real father.
yeah,
Think about it. Just let that digest. I couldn't tell you his birthday unless it show up on Facebook
Wow.
or I look at my birth certificate.
Mm.
Wow.
So I mean, that's why I say, and I don't knock my mother per se as him too, because as a father, why didn't you want to be in my life? I'm your firstborn child that
Ooh,
I know of.
Lord have mercy.
So
Man.
you just went on and just jumped ship, and you married my mother, jumped ship, and then, but that's a whole nother drama thing because they was forced to get married, which is something I don't understand. Well, that's how she
Man.
got pregnant. So my grandmother forced them to get married, which
Man.
I
Shotgun
know
wedding.
all this domino drama affected what people doing. And it just like that's why I act the way I act. Sometimes I be cuckoo for cocoa puff sometimes. Cause I be like,
See,
look, that's why I
see,
be I be just looking at folks. I be like, nah, that ain't for me. Cause that's a jail case waiting to happen. I can't do it. I ain't
see,
got time
but
for jail. No, ma'am.
this leads to
It,
my second point that I want to talk about, and I want to preface this by saying this doesn't apply to all mothers, just some, not all. But for the some that it applies to, I need y'all to listen to me very clearly. Y'all ain't y'all mothers, the some that I'm speaking about. Y'all need to make that pathway open for that father to be in that child's life.
true.
Just because you bitter about a relationship ending doesn't give you the right or the inclination to exclude that man from that father from that child's life. You're wrong for doing that. And then
Absolutely.
you said a very very ugly and very very dangerous precedent
Yeah.
for that child moving forward because like I said last week, the child is a whole of two halves,
Mm-hmm.
mother and father. When
Mm-hmm.
when one of those aspects are missing or not present, that child is not whole. Much as folks people want to say that, well, this child did well, my son grew up without his father, so he's good and he's whole. No, ma'am, no, ma'am, no, ma'am, no, ma'am, no, ma'am. That child is not whole. That child has not been with his father. And when the sum of y'all baby mamas decide that y'all want to block that pathway by a big old wall,
Yeah.
and then you require that man to place a whole bunch of explosives to tear that wall down or get a hammer to try to knock that wall down, and then every time he knocks it down and has some access to the child, and then you wall it back up, and now he has to get a bigger hammer to knock the wall down. You make that difficult, and then it gets to the point to where a lot of us, and I'm gonna say this because that was me, a lot of us as fathers throw up our hands and say, like, you know what, the hell with it. Because the more I try to get close and establish a relationship, the more you build up the wall and you make it impossible to do that because you got this wall built up, this insurmountable wall that's up right now. And you're for now I and now I'm forced to climb it because of some unperceived slight that or some unperceived slight that I don't know I may have given to you. Or something that was crazy that I didn't know that I even some sort of pain that I may have even that I may have inadvertently inflicted upon you that wasn't discussed.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't be mad. You can't be mad at me because I'm in another relationship with another person just because our relationship didn't work out. We still have a responsibility to that child. And as a father, I'm equally as duty bound to that child as you are. And to cut off access to me to the child just because you're angry or you you're peed about something or you're peed about me being with somebody else or you peed about me just not wanting to be with you because now I see your true colors and see how you really act and stuff like that. And you want to be mad at me for that? And you want to build up this big old wall because of that?
But that comes from
How
choices.
dare
The
you?
songwriter said, never trust two things, a big butt and a what?
Smile.
Come
Smile.
on. So when you chase certain things in women and you don't get to know these women, and I'm not talking about in all cases, but in many cases, superficially, we jumping in the bed with each other. We don't know anything about the fiery loins is taking control.
Yeah.
So you jump in, you jump out, you don't know nothing about them. She gets pregnant. You know nothing about her standards, nothing about what she believes in. You just know that that thing was jiggling, baby. So you went on ahead, baby.
Yeah.
in
And
in,
it
in
is.
some cases, and flip it around. Same with women. Yep, he
Yep.
fine. He seemed to have it all together on paper and in black and white. And you lay that thing down, drop it like it's hot, hold it like it's cold, and then when it's all over, who is he? What? I don't even know his last name. Huh?
Mm,
What?
mm,
Now you got to go to your phone. Which one?
mm,
Baby daddy? Which one? I mean, okay, Steve. Okay, John. Okay, Kevin.
You
Okay,
don't
I don't
know
even know the
my
last name. Okay,
name.
we don't even know each other to know how a person would raise their kids. We ain't
Exactly.
talking like T Wade said. These conversations ain't happening on the in the beginning. We are so
Nope.
into what we want sexually, desire, flesh, hormones, raging. Boom, 7 seconds of fame. We ain't thinking like that
Kid.
until
Now
it's
what?
too late. The child here now.
Child. Now
mhm.
what? What's the
They
next?
here
What's the next
now.
step?
So now he's like, okay, you here, I'm here, the baby's here. What's your name again? Okay, who your mama is? Okay, who you if you can find the other person. Because when you lay down with them talking to the ladies, you don't know what that dude was about. As soon as you call up and say I'm pregnant, by who?
By who? What?
By me?
Who?
I ain't want no baby. What you want me to do? Not
Okay.
all dudes are like that. But if you ain't approaching this thing with purpose and getting the intel in the dating, we just jumping right into the bed and coming out like, okay, it's gonna be what it's gonna be. I'm gonna get mine. You got to get yours.
It's man. And see
I
that,
mean,
and
let's
that's the
just talk
thing.
real. In a lot of situations, babies are coming here under those pretenses,
Right.
the totally unplanned. But how? If you play with fire, you will get burned.
And that's
It is.
destructive.
If
That's
you
Don't
put
destructive
burn
because
me. I don't like burn.
the parts together, can create a child. Y'all
yeah.
parts is like it.
But just like how just what two maladjusted people can create a maladjusted child.
Listen, you better know it.
And again, like I said, this and the other onus of that, the other onus of what I said earlier, the other onus of that goes to the fathers, brothers. Look, y'all, look, man, y'all do, and I'm gonna say this because that was me when I was younger, but y'all do, man. We can't be running out here just impregnating woman after woman,
Come
thinking
on.
that that's a sign of manhood or some other crazy thought process because that particular thought process is I'm just for all intents and purposes stupid.
And we taking
If
them
you
seeds in like, oh, I got his baby.
if you
Tyrone
bro,
love me, baby honey. You
bro,
got one, she got one, she got one. Y'all got a whole mass choir.
bro, if you got enough kids to form a baseball team and a football team all at one time, first of all, I mean, okay, now I understand that God said go forth and procreate and make the world and
Be
however the verse
fruitful and
goes,
multiply.
but but
And that's her
good
name is Tyrone.
but good grief. Can we please have common sense when we go be fruitful and multiply?
We
Can we
both do.
please have some common sense with that?
We all need to.
I'm just saying, I'm just asking.
You
See,
got
But
it.
see, so, but you got you at the end of the day, you're gonna have maybe two, no more than three men that are out there trying to do that, with that being their objective. What the major objective is like LHG said, they are answering the booty call. They are
the
trying to
2 o'clock in
fill
the
their
morning
own
call.
coat.
Hello.
Period. And
Hey.
and they're making accidental babies.
What you
Yes.
got on, baby?
God bless them.
Yes.
God bless the babies, because God don't, God ain't gonna judge the babies for that. But
Right.
at the end of the day, that's what these men are doing. They're getting that Saturday night hookup, that Friday night hookup, and some of them even getting the Wednesday night hookup. And then they're turning around, having babies, and disappearing. They're going to the next person because they ain't learned from the first 2 to 5 they done did, and they're having more babies. And this is what's happening. And they're not ready. Therefore, you have all these fathers, all these fatherless children who are out there that don't have. And again, all of this is breeding into that first brick that I talked about in the beginning.
Yep.
Because now you have a situation where you got fatherless children out there. So the mother who's breaking her back to take care of these children, she runs into a man who she considers to be who they're supposed to be. Takes it back to the stepfather scenario all
Yeah.
over
Yep.
again. And it takes it back. If y'all are seeing what I'm saying, it's that
I'm
brick.
saying
That
Yeah.
brick.
Yep.
That
Back
it's
to the same
all
brick.
about the communication and
Yes.
the wisdom to move forward properly. And these men ain't doing that. It's and the women, because it takes two. It takes two.
Yep.
So unless you have an accidental rip in the stuff that happened that you're using, I mean, you're laying up, you're having unprotected sex, and then you're having babies.
And then
And the
some of
That's
women,
not that's not
and most
accidental.
women know.
And the
That's right.
ain't
Thank
that's
you.
not
Thank
accidental.
you.
That's
Because
No,
not
ma'am.
I was about to correct that one.
No,
So thank
man.
you very much. I don't society classifies it as accidental because it wasn't planned. But
right.
if you're gonna
No.
lay down without a condom and you're
You
gonna do
gotta
what you do
know.
or
It's planned.
You
unprotected
gotta know.
sex, period.
It's planned.
Yeah, thank you. So it's on both parties, not just the man. But he knows what he's doing.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Take
Whether he
take
wanted
for
to
She do
impregnate
too.
her or not, you ran that gambit and
Yes.
But
you ended up with a child.
But
Right.
take for instance
but
this
she do
man
too.
that was just with the what's the chick name? Jesus. Ayana. The Ayana Fix My Life lady.
Oh
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
She just had a father of 34
Good night.
on her show.
See?
You know
This
what?
dude
Shut
Mississippi
the
Mass
front
Choir.
door. Shut the
The
front
this
door.
dude
Mississippi
literally
Mass
got
Choir.
this dude literally got 34 children.
Jesus.
Started when he was 16 and been making them ever since.
Oh my God.
See?
What?
See?
Shut the
See?
front
And
So
door.
none of them are by the same woman.
See,
So so he been just dropping around, just boop, boop,
34
boop,
women have entertained that.
see that
and
Correct.
thought
thank you. See?
That's the
thought
point.
that was sweet,
Okay.
and
Okay.
thought that was
See?
sweet. So
34 children. And he had the audacity to call Ayana and say, "Can you fix my life? What is there for her to fix?"
there ain't nothing.
You
There ain't
tell
nothing to
me
fix.
Got nothing left.
what she's supposed to fix, honey.
What's to fix? First of all, fix yourself, dude. First of all, you get fixed.
Right. Literally.
I mean, I'm saying, what is it that you reaching out to her for her to
Dried
fix?
up by now, sir.
Nothing.
You want her to help you learn how to be a father to all 34?
To 34.
What?
Oh my goodness.
So first of all, you should, you know what? See, and that right, and see that is the reason why this particular.
But he didn't do it by himself.
No.
Of
He
course he
didn't.
didn't, but
So
He didn't.
and the
number
onus
No.
is
He
on
didn't.
those women.
34.
But you gotta catch
No.
this. If y'all go find it, I promise you, if I got the link, y'all know I'll post it in the group. If I can find the link for y'all. But
Mhm.
this is the thing. How is it possible when you get together and you say, "I want all my kids on holiday"?
How that gonna
Y'all
work
gotta
out?
get a hall. Y'all gotta rent a hall. Y'all
Okay,
gotta
you
rent a hall.
you know what I'm saying? You say, "I want
Y'all
all
gotta
my
get an
kids
Airbnb
on holiday."
or a
Y'all
Verbo.
gotta get a
What the heck
hall.
you doing? A whole
Oh my
hall.
goodness.
Oh my
You see what I'm
God.
saying? And I mean, there he has a photo with him in the middle, standing in the middle, and all 34 surrounding him.
This part right here, the most of the time, woman number 2 through 34,
Right.
y'all had some knowledge of a previous child in most
Right.
cases, but you still, well, it don't matter to me because when he get my love, he gonna straighten up and fly right. When he get a
You know
little
what?
bit of Chocolate City, he gonna straighten up and fly right.
Ah,
Baby,
Yeah.
ain't a big enough vehicle for all them kids. Y'all need a Greyhound bus, the church bus, a
need a whole RV.
Let me tell you something.
y'all
Look,
can't go
LAG,
nowhere together.
Woo!
there's a
You,
difference
you can't
between
even
love
tell me
and
you got a
stupidity.
house big enough to house all 34.
Listen, a hotel, the
Man,
whole Holiday Inn.
I
The
thought
whole
when
holiday.
I first heard the story, I really thought it was a lie until
No,
his mom came on the interview first and said that he started at the age of 16 and just been popping them out ever since.
That's a good point, Mr. Abston. Them kids probably is dating each other and don't even know it.
Yeah, I was about
No,
to say
no,
that.
they know they siblings.
Whew.
But it's just the point. It's just a matter of the fact that your son started at 16 and never stopped.
Never stopped.
What?
Everywhere he
First of
went,
all,
he was just dropping them.
bruh,
That's
like
crazy.
you just dropping seeds everywhere, and then now you have 34 children, and y'all advancing to fix your life. What is there to fix?
But you got to
Yourself,
understand,
perhaps?
women, when you deal with someone like that and you perpetuate that, you're saying it's okay.
It's
Don't be
okay. Yep.
5, 6, 7, 8 to 39.
Right.
Don't
Like
if
baby mama
if
number 10
someone
through
says,
34.
"Oh, I'm gonna pass," on that,
Man, please.
come
I ain't
on.
starting with baby mama 10 through 34. I'm starting with baby mama number 1.
Well, baby mama number
Man,
1 was in high school with him, so we can't talk to her.
we can't even
We can't
blame
talk to
her.
her.
She was
The only
first
time we
was
could talk to
first
her
Mohican.
is after she found out he made more than 9.
See,
Now, after he hit 10, 12 and kept procreating, as baby mama number 1, I just would have been like, because there's no way that you on child support. If you on child support, you ain't
24
got no check.
kids. He get
He ain't got no
You
money.
ain't got
Not
no
none.
check.
negative $8,000.
Okay, you ain't got no check. There's
Negative
no
8
way
grand.
that you on child support for
Oh my
all
goodness.
34.
See,
Oh my goodness.
Devontae said this right here. He just being fruitful and multiplying. No, sir. There is a difference between being fruitful
That's
and
a
multiplying and
Gargamel
being
spirit.
stupid.
That's a Gargamel spirit.
And being stupid, being absolutely stupid. Now, I don't know the brother like that, but dog,
But
I'm
we
telling
keep
y'all
talking about
to
the
do
brother. This
to
is
Google him and look
people
him
like
up.
that together. People are getting together with this man. He's not having kids alone. When you have these kind of brothers, there are women who are going along with this. Why? Where's your self-esteem? Where's your self-worth? Why are you even entertaining this?
Why are you even complicit in this?
Right.
You
Look
know
at
this
Nick
dude got a whole
Cannon.
bunch of kids. Oh.
So
Now,
how many
see,
different how many
this is like
does he
that
got kids?
conversation we had last night, Fred. See, this is why I said, now the topic was supposed to be on bridging gaps and everything. Now, here's my problem is that my viewpoint on it was it would be hard to do. Not impossible, but it's hard to do because of the situation and because of where we're at now and where the
Yeah.
thought process is with people. And if you turn around and you look at the situation that this dude did with 30 some odd kids, okay,
Gee,
all of them kids, again, there's issues. So how are we supposed to bridge a gap? And we
34
have
times.
Exactly.
Right.
I'm
Exactly.
sorry.
Right.
and
But
we got
I'm
all of
telling
this
you, 'cause
going on.
I believe that that's why he called her to try to fix his fathering capabilities. My thing is
See,
how you supposed to multiply yourself 34 times?
34 times.
You can
not
only
only that,
be
your oldest is
in one
34.
area. Right, but
Your
you
Right.
can only
oldest
be
is
in one area.
34. So
I
with the
can just
oldest, with
imagine when he tries to have a conversation with all 34 in the same room.
yep,
That's
yep.
no. If your last
That's
name
going
begin with A through C, can you stay on there? D through F, can y'all go over there? And I'll be there next year. Come on. That's a school.
and see, and this is the question that, and this is the thing that what we really need to touch on. This part about it right here. This is the reason why this conversation exists. The conversation we're having tonight exists. How does not bridging the gap between our kids, how does that affect our daughters and especially our sons? Because, like I said earlier, our
Yep.
son, and what idea are we projecting to our daughters and our sons? Are we projecting the idea that it's okay to run out here and be promiscuous and do whatever you want to do, and it's okay without
Yes.
having to assume the responsibilities of that, or not reap the consequences of that choice?
Yes.
Are we teaching our children? Are we teaching our sons and daughters to just be like, it's okay to be fruitful and multiply by following what the good word says without thinking things through?
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
messages are we giving our kids?
Yeah.
What gaps are we bridging by letting our kids see our irresponsibilities
Mm-hmm.
and our lack of accountability, and then they grow up, they see that, and then all of a sudden now they act in the same manner, in the same way, and then later, now we see our kids doing the same things that we did as young adults, and now as we're older adults, we want to try to correct them. You should have thought about correcting that child way before
But I want you to
anything.
imagine what you just said, Fred. I'm still stuck on the guy with 34. If the son's out of the bunch
Lord
do the
Jesus.
same thing they daddy did.
And they do 44.
Boy,
Come
and,
on.
and,
See what I'm
and
saying?
double his production.
We gotta build
That's
more.
why
We
I
gotta build
think
more
it's
schools. We
a
gotta build
hard road. It's a hard road, and we can sit here and we can, it's good to sit and have this conversation and talk on these things. But the generation, like, I think I hit on Revelations yesterday with you, Fred, but it's again,
Yeah,
like, everything that's happening it shouldn't be a surprise to us because it's written. And what is the out from that? Like, how do we literally, we can ask the question, but what is the answer? Well, how do we bridge it outside of the brick one that I laid of conversating before you even develop your family in your home?
Mm-hmm.
That's key one. But
It is.
outside of
right.
that, again, there are other influences outside of that. You have these kids, like I mentioned to you, where they're going to school, they're at school for 6 to 8 hours. They're on the internet after that. Some
Yeah,
of them are on the internet during that. But you have all these
yeah,
influence. You have your friends outside of those two things. Like, they're not just learning from the household. So
Right.
That's
where
true.
do we start to bridge? How do we start to fix
Right.
those things?
yeah.
Because those are major. The internet is major because even adults, like you said, LHG, we don't even go to the table anymore.
We don't.
So
Nope.
we're not communicating, and the internet plays a large part in that. A lot of what these kids are learning is internet based now. They can learn anything, see everything on the internet. So they don't communicate. I used to
But
have to go outside every day after school. They
Yes.
don't want to go outside because they can go to their room, they get on their Xbox, they get
Mhm.
on their PlayStation, they get on the computer, they get on their phones, and that's where they live.
yep,
Right.
That's where they live. And you have adults that are doing that.
yep.
So where do we start? I would love for somebody to tell me outside of what I said is offered up as far as communicating before you start. Once
Mhm.
you've already started, once it's already in play, where do you
Mhm.
go from there?
Well,
Because
the
you can't
biggest
take
thing.
their phones. You take
Yeah.
their phones and then they threaten you. Like I told you,
Oh,
Fred,
you
there
know
was
that.
a kid.
Oh, come on. They're gonna come
There
out
was a
swinging.
kid that tore apart his mother's home.
Swinging.
Literally
Because of a
tore
phone.
her. We're talking about he tore the sink off the wall. He
Yeah,
That's
did all that
crazy.
stuff because she took
because
his
he took his
phone.
phone.
His lifeline.
That's his
His
life.
lifeline.
I mean,
So
he put holes in the walls, tore up
yes,
TVs. Yeah,
That's
yes, he destroyed. Had that woman crying because there was no way she could. She had
yeah.
so much to fix. It wasn't funny. You would have swear a demolition team
And
went
then
through
when
that
she
home.
finally spoke up and said something to him, he was like, "What you gonna do?"
Yeah,
Like
this
that
is what
was
we're
that
doing.
was his response. He was like, "And what you about to do?
wow.
Nothing,
Yeah. So
nothing."
where do
Like
we
this is
where do
how
we
his
start?
reaction was to her.
Right.
But at the same time, in that case, I'm not gonna say I fault her, but to an extent, it made her look at herself because you allowed him to have too much
Yep.
room to do that.
That's right. That's
Yep.
screen time.
You gave him too
Yep.
much room to be able to act like that.
Come
Cause
on.
hunty, best believe
Yes.
mine would have known. As soon as you went to start acting like you about to jump stupid,
Come on.
real quick, like I don't think that's what you want to do, son.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
And before I get started, let me go ahead and call 911 on myself.
Right now. Get
There you
I
ready.
go.
would have
There you
ever
go.
so,
There
you
you
see what
go.
I'm saying?
Go down.
There
Would
you
have ever
go.
so
There you
kindly
go.
picked up the phone and dialed it on myself. You
Something
might
about to
want to
go
get here the
down.
next 15 minutes because if you don't, when you come in,
Head
this is
out
what you're
now.
gonna find.
Just going to head out now.
Like, you know what I'm
Exactly.
saying?
See,
And that's the problem when you allow. I do
Yes.
notice that there's a lot of women who have boy children.
Yes.
That's what they do.
Yes.
And they don't do. It'll be totally different if they had a girl. Because if it was a
Yes.
girl, she would have ragdolled her. But
Yes.
because
hmm
of a boy, you feel like, well, I'm gonna give you a little bit more leeway.
See,
You
there it
can go
is.
out and do what you want to do. You can have your phone, not realizing that while your kid in the room telling you they done with homework, your kid's still sitting up in his bed till 4 o'clock in the morning because he been on the phone all night.
All night.
And then when he get to school, his grades is sloppy because he ain't doing nothing because he been where on the phone all night. He's sitting in class
the
sleep.
circles are crazy. The
Right?
circles
You
are
know what I'm
crazy
saying?
that we're talking right now. Everything is revolving around something else. It is
Yes.
crazy to even hear. Like we know this, but when you put it on the table, like we're at the table right now, it's just
Right.
crazy to see it. It's crazy.
Yeah,
Everything
but
connects.
the biggest thing is it's the way you bring your children up. You
hmm
have to go
It
back to that.
is.
If it's a child that won't brought up to respect and not do certain
Yeah.
stuff, when you have been brought up that way, you won't do it. Why? Because you
Right.
afraid that mama, grandma, whoever
Oh, honey, the fear of God. You
gonna
better
tag
know.
your head if they
You
found out
better
you did
know it.
something contrary to the fact.
You better
So
Well,
know.
here's the thing, because I talked to Fred yesterday about that too. We covered a multitude, but my
mhm,
thing was this, because Fred had mentioned that same thing, and it's about the parents being held accountable,
yeah,
But with me, I agree that the parents are should be held accountable for what they're supposed to do. But again, we're not talking now in a time frame where me or Fred or LGH or even LHG or even Coco, when we grew up, we knew what being around mama meant. We knew what being around grandmama meant. We knew what Big Mama was talking about. We
Yeah.
knew
Yeah.
that
Come on,
if
big
you
mama.
came out of pocket, that was your behind. We knew that.
right,
Now they don't know that. And yes, that is on the parents' part to a degree. But
Yeah.
I think that even the ones that have the parents that go there, they're willing to buck up against their own parents. And
Yes.
they're because there's
Yes.
a peer pressure that's there. There's
Yes.
a
That.
there's a stigma that's on TV, that's on the internet, and they're
Yes.
seeing their things and they're coming into their own mind. And we do have parents that say they should be able to have free thought. They should be able to speak their mind. They should be able, and when that keeps going and they get the guns to do that,
No
they have the
boundaries.
ball bearings to do that. They do it. They press the boundaries. And now the government steps in. And when back in the day when Big Mama used to put her hands on little Billy, now she can't. Now she
See?
right,
can't because now the not only are they going to come in and take little Billy, but they're also going to charge Big Mama. So
Yes.
there
Yes.
becomes that situation. It got to a point to where I heard a parent say, "Okay, well, if you don't think I'm doing a good job with my kid, then you take him. You take him because I'm
Mm.
not
Yep.
going to change who I am for you, so that he can act like a moron, do something stupid, and then you turn around and come and blame me for it." But
Ooh,
that's
right,
what's happening. We do have parents out there that are standing their ground, but
right,
these kids are also learning to stand their ground.
right.
And
But
it
this is
doesn't
the thing,
matter
though.
whether we prove them right or wrong, they're going to buck up against people and do what they want. And a lot of
Right, but
times, sadly
this is the
mistaken.
thing about that though, way. The thing about that particular situation is
Mhm.
you can teach them to be that person. Yes, speak your mind, but you can teach them to do it and also be respectful.
Right.
Now,
absolutely.
at the end of the day, yeah, you're gonna always have outside influences, but what are you gonna roll with? Are you gonna roll with your outside influences? You gotta also think about the type of child that you created.
Woo wee.
Yep.
Is your
Mm.
child got enough in them to say,
Woo.
okay, I'm not playing the follower because I know I'm the leader type. So you could go run through a wall if you like. I know you're gonna hit it because it's brick. You're not going through it. But if you tried it, I'm not gonna play follow the leader and run behind you.
Right.
So just because
Mm.
you get an opportunity to do something that my parents may not allow, that's fine. Go do what you want. But at the end of the day, me listening to my parents is gonna keep me out of trouble.
Yes.
Yep.
And so
Come
you
on in,
still
Cement.
it's
No, you
still
have something to say.
about the child being able to say, I'll beat that eyeball out. I'll
Right.
be that one that you think you can bully, but at least I'm gonna be free.
Right.
Because if you keep
Mm.
running behind you running where you running at, I'm gonna be doing the same crap you doing, and I'm not that.
Yeah.
But so it's a lot of it at the end of the day. Still, it goes back to what you show your child. Even in the midst of what we know now today, you can
Yes,
still
ma'am.
sit your child down and say, you don't have to be like what I know you said.
Yes.
I
Yes.
know that you catching stuff outside of the home. I
Yes.
know you may not tell me everything that you deal with,
Mm.
everything that you have been a part of, but I know, because trust me, there's nothing that you doing that I probably did not do.
Right.
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 That's
And
true.
a lot of times
So,
it's also the transparency of the parent.
Right.
that's true, and I like how you
Hold on,
put that
hang on,
because
T. Hang on, T.
Mhm.
Let's let Sinette get in because I know she has been wanting to say something for a minute. So come on, Sinette.
No, but everything y'all are saying is so true because again, I say this from working with kids in the after school program. There's no now I might be a little cheat when I say this statement, but there's no way 12, 13, 14-year-old should be walking around with no red bottom shoes. No way. No,
Nah.
now, now if she's 16, got good grades, she got a part time, she doing everything, and she wanna buy her own red bottoms, that's on her. But as a parent, I don't understand why a parent is buying their child red bottom shoes. I don't understand. These are questions I talk to parents about. These kids would come to the program, drop their iPhones when iPhones were just starting to come out, and like how much they used to be 1,000. They be like, I don't care. My parents will just buy me another one. What? And
They got the
I
chance
would
to
go,
do it.
but look, I would go ballistic like it was my money that they messed up. The parents like, oh, it's all right. I'm like, you're not mad. Parents would call me to make sure I'm there because they know I'm stern with their kids and for the dance program. I said, you don't pay me to be their daggone babysitter. I said, now I used to like gently hug them. I used to give them loves and hugs and everything. And I said, I'm not going to jail for you, but this is, I don't, these are things I never understood and I used to talk to parents about. Your kids are getting F's. These parents, some of them would not go to the kids' programs, bunch of, like, I'm in there acting like I'm their parent. They said, why you yelling for like 30 kids? I said, that's my baby. I'm their after school teacher. Their parent is not here. These kids need someone to cheer them on. If I'm not cheering the kid on, who's gonna cheer for the kid?
Hmm.
Did you catch what you just said? Did you catch what you just said, though, Sonette?
If I'm
I
not
did.
cheering, who gonna cheer?
All right. So the biggest thing is this is the thing. I think y'all was having a show that night, and I said it in the comments, but I don't think y'all saw it. I said, what happens when both parents are absent? You
Mm-hmm.
may live in the home with your parents, but neither one of them give you time.
Not present
So
at all.
you have a present, what I call present absentee.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
at the end of the day, again, just because I make sure you got everything you need for school, but I don't show up,
Mm-hmm.
that's not me being a parent.
No.
I just incubated you.
Yep.
That's what I did. Just because you pushed out a child does not make you a mother.
Absolutely.
Right.
You have to
Just,
actually mother the child.
just
Just
because you lay
because you
down with a
helped the
woman,
woman create a child, don't make
don't
you
make
the
you a
father.
father.
It make you the father by DNA, but you are not fathering that child.
Absolutely.
Right.
You catch what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And so at the end of the day, I think a lot of people have it twisted. They think that because they made them, that makes you mom and
No,
dad.
It don't.
It
Yeah.
don't make you mother and
by
father.
DNA and by default, but that's it.
That's it.
By DNA by default. But if
It's
you're not
crazy.
being that father, you're not being a father in that child's life. Meaning, teaching, imparting lessons,
Please
imparting
stop.
value and values. You're
I
not
can't play
being
with
a
you.
father. You're not. No, that
But you
where
also,
where do we
I'm
where do we
sorry.
come off with this? Where do we come off with this talking about? Well, I laid down with this lady, or I laid down with this man. I'm a parent. Where's that come off at? And you not doing you not and you're absent. You're an absenteeism.
but that's what you have a lot of people doing.
But
It's
the
just like
principal,
I told LHG, I think it was yesterday, maybe the day before. I don't like the term step anything.
Mm-mm.
When you married the person, that is not your step nothing. That's your daughter.
Right.
Basically.
You got another daughter. There you go.
Exactly.
Cool.
Exactly.
Right? And so why do we use the term step?
that's
Like
very
I
true.
I don't understand. Like I don't even know where we came up with the terminology. Because
Legality.
what does a step do?
I think that's the legal term in the courts.
Legality.
Mhm.
You know, and it's just like, but if you think about it, what does a step do? The term step children, I'm not stepping on you to get nowhere.
Mhm.
So what is the term? Why am I using this terminology concerning a child? Period.
But
But at the
sometimes
same,
it's a
go ahead.
distinction. There's a divide, and sometimes I think that step part comes in when a parent isn't given, they're not allowed room to feel a part of a
Right.
family unit. I think when
Yeah.
people don't fit in, and that safe place to bond isn't created for that step parent, and you're coming into a program that's already going on, and you're trying to
Yep.
play double dutch and
Right.
see how you can get in, they're made to feel like a step parent, because it's like, no, it's me and my daughter over here. What you want? We
What
got
you
you.
got?
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I was guilty of that myself, only because of what I dealt with as a child. I wanted to protect my child, but I married this man. So protect him from what? From the man you married? Ma'am. So it's,
See?
yeah. So I get what you're saying, Coco, but it's layered, as we said on the last
Yep.
episode.
Very much so
That,
layered.
that space and opportunity has to be there. And that first brick that T Wade has laid down so eloquently, it goes back to conversation. We're getting ready to be a
Yep.
family. Matter of fact, we are engaged. So here is what this should look like. How, and
Yep.
ask some questions, have some dates out where you're going out to kind of bond with each other. We're getting ready to merge our lives together. And I talked about this on Saturday. As women, we get so caught up on, oh, I got me a man, that we ain't talking to the kids. They'll be
Right.
all right. They'll be all right. Well, maybe not. You may want to have some discussion and see what this dynamic is supposed to look like before you thrust them into a boom. Here go, yeah, this is Tyrone. Tyrone, it's my kids. Who?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
See?
But
And it goes out to what I said earlier.
I've watched people introduce the people they was with like that though.
See? But
And
yesterday,
then,
Mama, it was Jesse. What happened to Jesse?
but you haven't.
Exactly.
I mean, I know one. Every time she meets somebody new to introduce them to the kids, she throws a party.
Oh wow.
Well,
Mm,
What do you call
mm.
that? Orientation?
Yeah, she throws a party. So
What is a job
that's
fair?
orientation,
yeah,
bruh.
she'll
That's
throw
orientation, bruh.
But listen, she'll throw a party to introduce the children to that person and everybody else at the same time. So
You gotta be
while her kids is like, well, who that? And you about to introduce this dude, everybody else is like, well, who that? All at the same time. So I
Is
guess
this from
I guess
American
it's like a
Idol or
welcoming
something?
party. I don't know. So
What is it? American Idol? Are we do we have like, okay, contestants? What is this? Am I
I
voting?
don't know. I
What
don't
is
know.
that?
Price is Right?
I don't know.
Look,
But that's
Well,
what
I'm kind of thinking she's doing it in a way to where, you know what, I need everybody to meet him. So I'm just gonna throw a party and not necessarily label it as a "this is my man" type thing, but he comes in the door. Next thing you know, she's introducing. I
him
think
to
it's her way
everybody.
of easing it into everybody without actually making a banner for it. You know what I mean? Now, if we're talking
man,
banner, then that's crazy. But like,
you know what?
I'm gonna throw a party because I need all y'all to meet Jimmy Bob. I don't
Right.
think
You
she
know what?
might be doing that. I think she's
The
more or
first
less,
thing I'm
okay,
thinking about,
I'm gonna
T,
throw an event and I'm gonna have him come and everybody will meet him while he's there.
Yeah.
But it's
you
having
know
a
what?
party every 2 weeks, brother.
By golly,
I'm like,
bruh.
I'm a little confused, Mama. Hey, Mama, I'm a little confused. Name tags. Can we get some name tags? Because I don't know who's who. Hello, my name is. Hello, my name is. What?
See, look. See, you
Oh
know
my
what?
goodness.
If that's the case, we need to just have it as the Price is Right. Come on down. You're the next contestant on the Price is
That's
Right.
causing confusion. Maybe you want to date outside the home, get to know get the intel, as Fred says. Let's get the intel. Before I even introduce you to these, I have kids. I'll tell you, I have kids. I'll even give you, little Johnny loves dinosaurs, little Rerun loves to dance. But do I have to bring them in every time somebody new comes and have
No.
these introductions?
No.
Because that can be confusing.
Mm-hmm.
And then have you taken the time to get to know these people? How are you interviewing them? Are you picking them off the bus stop? Are you going to the temporary agency? Where are they coming from? Where are they coming from? Are they lined up? I mean, what's happening? Because these kinds of situations will go with these kids throughout their lives into their adolescence, adulthood, and they'll think this is what people supposed to do.
Yeah.
No.
And she's
Right.
she's meeting them at her job. She's a bartender, so it's frequent flyers all the time.
Very frequent flyers.
Wow.
You know,
Oh,
like
no.
she's meeting these people
Wow.
at her job.
Dang, birdie.
So
Wow.
you don't even know who these people are. That's dangerous for
Yeah.
all
Very much
parties
so.
involved. And the children get caught in the crossfire of that. But honey, I'm in love. But mama, you was in love with Tito. And now it's Jermaine. And then it was Michael. And I mean, at what point you got the Jackson 210? What's happening here?
Right. And then
what happened to Marlon? What happened to Marlon?
But I know one that she's like, I don't introduce my children unless I think it's becoming serious.
And that to me is
If
smart.
I think it's becoming serious, then I
That's
introduce
smart
them.
thinking.
That's
You know.
smart. Because if you just did it based upon when we did go out to the show last night, now I'm bringing him to you today. But there may not even be a second date. And now you got my attention focused on him. And he may not even make it to the second round.
Right. Right.
Yep.
What are we
But now you
doing?
got me. Oh, what's your name? Okay, nice to meet you. And you're going through all these formalities. So you really, when children are involved, and even when children are not involved, date smart.
Yeah.
I don't always do that. I dated out of desperation.
Yeah.
Ooh,
And when you date out of desperation and loneliness, man,
you get what you get.
whatever. 2 teeth, no teeth,
Yeah.
You
one
get what you get.
eyebrow, one eye patch, one leg, 3 thumbs. It don't matter.
You get what you get. You get what you
Because
get.
and it kind of turns into, and this is gonna come up tomorrow on my show.
Russian roulette.
It kind of comes into when you lack self-love, when you lack self-esteem, you just open the gate for servant number 12. Okay, nope, 13. It's 13 here. Okay, we're gonna go. Must be present to win. We
Exactly.
like Secretary of State, the cheese
Right.
man. We just taking them in. Nope, that didn't work. Next. Oh, what's your name? Okay. Thank you. I'll call you. Next. It's speed dating.
Yeah.
By
Yeah.
the hundreds.
Yeah.
And it's
But one of the things
unhealthy.
one of the things I want to go back to when you were talking about, your relationship with your husband and Gabby, and it goes back to the minefield concept that I said that I talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
If you're bringing me into this proverbial or minefield, so to speak, and I'm calling it that proverbially, not saying it in a literal sense, but
I get it.
figuratively. If you're bringing me into this minefield, then you, as the woman and as a man, if I'm walking through this minefield, you got to help me disarm the minds. If
Yeah.
I'm walking through the minefield,
maybe
your responsibility
not.
to disarm the minds.
Because that depends on the woman. For me, I was in a minefield as a child. So in my mind, from my trauma, because I walked through the minefield in our home, I wanted to protect my daughter.
Right.
Yes, you are my husband, and I kind of sort of trust you to discipline her. But I also, going back to what T. Wade said, I had to watch how the discipline was coming.
Right.
If you coming in here, drill sergeant, not talking, going
See that ain't right.
That ain't right. But what I messed up with, I should have did what T. Wade said and took him to the side. When you make a spectacle, you're wrong. That's my child. Now that the baby is seeing the child is seeing all of this division and arguing, when I should have said, even if I had to just bite my teeth, like, okay, when she go in her room, come here. That wasn't right, baby. That wasn't right. Because she did wash the dishes. I went in there and cleaned out the fridge, and that's why it's more stuff in the sink. She did wash them.
And see, that's where things get twisted
So
because
right,
there's no conversation.
conversation,
There's no conversation. Like, and you can, gentlemen, I need to make this point very clear to y'all. If you're entering into that type of relationship and you're marrying or dating a woman with children, you can't just run up. You just can't run up in here all rah, bro.
Hey, come on now.
You
But
can't be in here all.
he would know that if that first brick was laid. He would
Yes.
already know what he can and cannot do and what he's walking into. He would actually have an idea as to what some of the mines would be in that field that he would have to avoid if that brick had been laid. If you had a conversation, then you don't have to worry about him. Now, if you have the conversation and he comes in and does it anyway, that's
Yeah,
different.
that's different.
But
Yeah.
if you ain't had the conversation and you're saying, I need you to be a father to my children, and this is what he has learned or what he knows or perceives to be a father figure, a head of home, then he's going to do what
That's it.
he knows. He's going to do what he
Yeah.
knows. And then when you jump out to cut, you hiding behind bushes waiting, and you jump out and you get on him on something he wasn't familiar with or did not know because you didn't lay that first brick.
Mm-hmm.
Whose fault is that?
And you may
Whose
have
fault is that?
something.
It's the woman's fault. It's the woman's fault.
What if
It's both fault because everybody listening.
what if the child's father is deceased and the child didn't have a father in their life?
Mm-hmm.
That new stepfather or father needs to know a little bit about that child coming into that home.
Yeah.
I'm telling you now, sweetheart, my baby, she isn't really used to having a man in our personal space. So
there you go.
Let's talk about and then to her. Now, sweetheart, when we get married, he's going to move in here and he's going to be living with us.
Mm-hmm.
Prepare you for that dynamic. Going back to that same brick. We're not having those background stories and that give me a little bit of information of what this may look like, feel like, sound like. And where's the prayer?
Yeah.
Are we even going to God? Are we going to counseling? Are we even having those spiritual talks too? Are we God in this house?
Yep.
That's the thing. That's the thing. And it's different because what if the parents are what we like to call spiritual these days, but it's two different religions.
Ooh.
The child is torn between the two because they taught
Clash of the
both.
Titans.
They're taught both.
Ooh.
Like I have one, his mom is a Christian, dad is a Muslim.
Wow.
He fast and pray. He fast and pray when the daddy fast and pray. But he also goes to church with
chops.
Right, but he also goes to church with the mama. He knows church protocol, so he know how to fit in with the two.
Wow.
But the thing is they taught him the two.
Wow.
But when you have one that, where the parents serve different religions, and the child is just caught in the middle.
Wow.
Just like, well, you pray, he don't.
Okay.
When I'm over there, this is what daddy do.
Right.
This is what mama do. Mama got a whole room for prayer. But you, on the other hand, that's not what you do.
Right.
You let me do what I'm gonna do over here. But that's not what he does. And their prayer is different.
Yes.
Yep.
They faithfully, they're faithfully praying all day, every day. Certain times a day, you're down on your face.
Yes.
And he let the school know that he does both. He brings his little mat, he go in the bathroom or a classroom that they let him go in and he go pray and he come back. And they let him. But it's just the fact of how do you handle all of those dynamics? Yeah. Also, their relationship is my parenting is I'm gentle with him. Don't scream and yell at him. He will respond to you better. If you go to screaming and yelling, he gonna look at you sideways, and you gonna know he's not listening to you. This is the mama.
Right.
The daddy, on the other hand, like I want to punch you in your throat because you ain't listening to me. Kind of thing. So it's a whole different type of
Yep,
where
different
he feeling like he not being respected,
yes.
and then y'all back and forth because you got a male child, and you feel like your male child is trying to come up against you, and that's not the case. It's the
Wow.
And that
fact of his mama told you not to bully parent him.
Mm-hmm.
Just parent him, and he'll respond to you. And
But
I
what
think
if
that
he
there's
got
a
the bully
difference,
parent? What if he got that?
right?
And that's all he
Now
knows.
see, and that's it right there. Like you can have again, like I had said, there. If I married my wife didn't get raised with me. We
Mhm.
didn't grow up in the same house. We don't have
Right.
the same parenting
Right.
thoughts that the
Yes.
other has. We just don't. So it's
Yes.
imperative to have those conversations because you turn
Right.
around and now you can have because for me, men are have always been the disciplinarians.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Women are the nurturers.
Mm-hmm.
And
right.
sometimes just there are the moments where on either or side, there can be too much of the same of that thing. Like I could
Mm-hmm.
be too
Yeah.
much of a disciplinarian, but mothers
Yeah.
can also be too much of a coddler. And
Mm-hmm.
then that comes into play. So you have to, when you sit down and have that conversation, then you'll know, okay, well, this is what, because just dating Susie on this, you're dating Susie every night and you haven't really spent time with the kids. You don't really know the kids just yet. And you haven't had that conversation. You just know Susie. So Susie's going to communicate with you and talk to you concerning you and her. So you
Right.
know what she's like when she's dealing with you, but you don't know what she's like when she's dealing with her own kids.
Right.
You
Mm.
don't you
Right.
you really don't know, and you haven't had that communication. So then when you get into it, now you're seeing, okay, well, Billy Bob's kind of, kind of hard with the
Mhm.
kids, you
Right.
know, and it's like, so that communication, if you don't have
Communication.
it, it's a lost cause.
It
It
Right.
is.
is because you never know.
So
I love
what
when
is your
women,
take? So
I
what
love
is
women
your
that
take
coddle,
when you have a
but
parent that? But what's your take when you have a parent that? What's the word I'm looking for? Um, if you come into a relationship, yeah, they told you up front that they had kids,
Okay.
but
Right.
you know that the dynamic between the parent relationship with their child ain't
Mm.
good,
Ooh, and you walking in
right?
on that?
And you're
And you
coming
walking into
in,
that?
you're coming
Gee,
into that,
that's a
right?
minefield right there.
So
then you
this
need
is
to have
like,
that conversation. You need to have that conversation. You
But if
need
that
to you
person,
need to ask those
Man.
questions.
but if that person's not
And if they
responding
get
to that,
all fired up about it, if they get all fired up and mad about it, then now you have another conversation about something else. Meaning, why are you getting so bent out of shape? I'm telling you what I'm observing. I'm just asking questions so I get to know you, and
Mhm.
because I'm trying to get into a relationship with you. I want to know how things are supposed to go. If it's that turbulent, then you might want to stage exit left. And I'm
right,
just being
intel
honest
gathering.
because at the end of the day, that's what they do. Now, and I'm gonna keep it 100 with y'all. Y'all, my family. I'm gonna keep it 100 with y'all.
Right.
I'm a disciplinarian, yes,
Okay.
and sometimes I'm direct and to the point. So if you're gonna ask me, I think I said this to you, Fred. If you're gonna ask
Yep.
me for $500, I'm gonna ask you why. I'm gonna be like,
Right.
okay, what you need it for? You're gonna give me
right.
a breakdown, especially when you got a job and you got a car. I need
Yeah.
to know why you need. I need to know why you need the $500. My
And when you
wife
gonna
is
pay it
more
back?
of the, yeah.
Mm.
My wife is more of the, okay, well, I might have it in the bank. I'll have to check and see. And then she might ask questions later, or she may not, based
Okay.
on what she may or may not know. But I'm going to ask those questions. So the kids are going to go to her. They're not going
Right.
to come to me first. They would go to her because
Right.
then the questions don't have to get asked her. She is more of a giving soul. And that's her nature to give. If you're in need, she's going to give. But when it comes
Mhm.
to the kids, I'm like, okay, I need you to understand why, because I'm not just going to give you money that I worked and broke my back for just so you can do whatever. And I know
Right.
you have a job. So, like, where's your money? What are you doing?
Yeah.
What's
What you
going
doing
on?
with it? Yeah.
So I think to some degree there can be a overdoing of the characteristics that we carry sometimes, and
Absolutely.
that
Yeah.
needs to be talked about. When it's not
Yeah.
talked about, you're going to run into issues with each other. Even if it's about the kids, now you have an issue. It's not just,
Mhm.
okay, well, dad has
Right.
an issue with the kids or mom has an issue with the kids. It's now mom and dad also have an issue. They're
Yeah.
doing
Yep.
this. They're
Yeah.
bumping heads because you're like bringing up the kid one way and you're believing something else. And it becomes a bad dynamic. I
Right.
swear it becomes a bad dynamic. You have to have that conversation. If you don't, it's going to tear your newly founded home to shreds eventually. It will tear you apart. And
Right.
that's
If it ain't
not a
already,
good thing. That's not a good
if it ain't,
thing. It's not. So
if it ain't already cut the
conversation.
ribbons already,
Right.
Right.
To
Yeah,
if it ain't
answer your
already cut the
question,
ribbons
Coco,
already,
if it's me, Coco, let's have a conversation. I'm seeing something. Let's have it. Either that or in the back of my mind, I'm gonna be like, that's not gonna work for me.
right.
Because
Because at the
at the,
same time, you don't want the person, and we love to use that word these days, is that somebody watching somebody else do that to their kid
Mhm.
triggers
yeah,
you because you deal with it. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
yep.
And so
yeah,
now the person you with done triggered you because you like this is how I came up, but I can see why your kid got an issue with you. Like, you know
hmm
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's because you dealt with that. And then when you try to
hmm
explain to them so they can see themselves so they can fix it, it's a problem. Because
yeah,
Those
oh
conversations,
now you're grading my parenting,
yep.
you
Right.
And
kind of thing.
those conversations get very volatile
Right.
because
there
And
you
so
go.
there you go. It's just like one of them things like how do you enter into certain parts of this conversation?
be like, my thought process, I would tell you, I mean, if we talk and then it's not a favorable thing, then I gotta go because
Okay.
Stage left.
this is like
Stage
this is
exit
not
left.
what I signed, what I initially signed up for.
Right.
And for me, like, and this goes back to how I was raised as a child. I saw a dynamic in my childhood that worked. You know,
Mhm.
my mother was, you know, my mother was, the kind, gentle person. Now she would jump off on us more than my father would, but my father was the stern yet fair person. And it took a lot for him to get angry if it's about something that we did. If we jumped off and did something wrong, he wouldn't act upon it until it got to a point to where there was a last straw, and all of a sudden it was jump off time. So
Okay,
my father was
give
always
me a
stern but
stern
fair.
but fair example, Fred.
Uh, let's see. But I think I remember one time I got in trouble. I forgot what it was about. Well, I do remember what it was about. So I got in trouble with in school. Me and my brother. This is probably y'all probably gonna have fun with this. Me and my brother end up fighting each other in school,
Oh Lord.
and we both
Okay.
got suspended. We both got suspended
Oh Lord.
for fighting in school. Both of us fighting in school.
Have
Now,
mercy.
exactly, and over what something very frivolous. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't over a girl. It wasn't over nothing. It's just one of us decided to have a bad day that day, and I
Mm.
think it was me. I think it was I'm the one that had the bad day
Lord have mercy.
in homeroom of all places.
Not homeroom. You got
Yep,
some trouble.
Got
yep.
suspended in
All
homeroom.
get to school.
Homeroom.
Just got into
Guys,
school properly.
You
Just
just
had
got
breakfast.
there.
Yeah,
Your spirit wasn't
yeah,
up. Your spirit.
yeah. So
Jesus.
we got suspended. Now my mom is simply furious. She's fuming. Like you can see steam come out her ears, and she wanted to jump off real fast. But my dad stayed her hand. Wait a minute. Let me talk to him first.
Mm.
So we both in the room, both of us in there, head down, sulking because me more so because I know what I did was completely idiotic and wrong,
Mm.
which prompted the response from my brother. The what I would call it the correct response from my brother because I hit him, so his correct response was to hit me back. So we both sitting there. I'm his head low, my head low. Tears coming out of my eyes because I know what's about to happen.
Oh Lord.
Because I know my mom about to jump off.
Uh-oh.
And my dad came in there, sat down on the bed. He inhaled sharply,
Mm.
and he said, "What the hell were y'all thinking?
Mm.
What is wrong with y'all? I did not raise y'all. I did not raise neither one of y'all to be adversarial towards each other. I ain't. That's nothing I taught. That's nothing I didn't. That's nothing I taught you. That's nothing your mother taught you.
Mm.
All this time we've been teaching. We've been teaching y'all to be. We've been teaching y'all to be good. To be good boys, so that I can that to be good boys, so you guys can be good men. And this is what happens. Oh no. Oh no. First and foremost, y'all on punishment.
Uh-oh.
So this stereo that's in here, this TV that's in here, oh, that's gone.
Uh-oh.
This video
Okay.
game system that's in here, that's gone.
Not the black and white TV with the coat hanger.
Oh yeah, the one with the bunny ears. The
No
one with the
Lord.
bunny
No
ears.
Lord Jesus. No Lord.
The one with the bunny ears, and on top of that, on top of that, it was a Friday, and we were. It's like what we did. We
Like
was looking for.
RCA.
Yeah. So TV gone,
No
Mhm.
Lord.
stereo
No Lord. No.
gone. What else? Y'all ain't going
Not
outside.
the
Nope.
Atari and the Commodore 64. No Lord.
Yeah, no outside, none of that. You know what I'm saying? When he said that, he said it with the firmest voice that I've ever heard him say to us ever as kids. He was very firm, and he was very adamant about that. And what the one thing that he said, the other thing that he said to us is that I want y'all to stand up right now, and I want y'all to apologize to each other.
Mm.
And we both looked at each other like we were crazy, because I ain't apologizing to you, dude. You hit me, but then my brother looked at me, well, you hit me first.
Lord
And
have
then my
mercy.
dad said, he didn't raise his voice. He just said in a very stern voice, now.
Mm.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We both got up. We apologized to each other. We hugged it out. You know what I'm saying? And my dad left me, said, I'm coming back in here later on to talk to y'all, because there's some things I need y'all to understand. And later on, we had a conversation. It was a very enlightening conversation. It didn't involve any type of physical punishment, physical torture, or anything like that. It was just a conversation, because because me and my brother, we were both 17 at the time. And
Oh.
we the point, and I think my dad was more disappointed than anything, because the thing of it is, he knew us to be very close to each other. You know, one of us always is going to protect the other from somebody else. My dad never thought that one of us would have to protect one from the other. And that was, I think, what kind of it hurt him. But I knew, I won't say I knew, but that hurt. And I saw it. I could see the pain in his eyes, but I knew that he had to take an action to where we had to take a decisive action to where we had to really understand. And
Mm.
most of the time, in some instances, Tony, you know how this is. LSU, you know how this is. If you got a parent that's got a jump off spirit all the time, oh, well,
Ooh, that jump
you
off.
know what it is. You know what's about to happen.
My
Now,
Lord.
like I said, my mom didn't always jump off like that, because it also, with her, it took her a bit to kind of get to that point. So we had to do something kind of major for that to go off like that. So,
Mm.
but my dad was like, "Oh no, don't get on them, don't get on the wife. Let me talk to them.
Wow.
Let me talk to him."
Now,
And when he
Steve,
talked to us,
now, I have questions. I love you dearly, Fred. You like the brother from another mother. So
what question
I
you got?
I, I love you dearly. But here's my question.
Why am I still alive?
Yesterday you mentioned how much respect you had for your parents. Today you mentioned how you felt like you mentioned the connection that's there, that you liked the fact that you liked the way that they ran the home, correct?
Yep.
Okay. So that now I'm just going back to my other question, because my thing was, I didn't think that parents I believe that parents and Coco, you really laid it down for me. I do believe that parents hold great responsibility. These are your kids.
Yes.
Right.
However, my argument has been that the parents aren't always to blame for what's going to the left.
Oh
So
no,
No.
now,
no.
with the conversation that you had yesterday, Fred, which was very touching, you said, how you went through a lot as far as your relationships go. You talked on being a father and
Right.
where you felt you fell short and everything else, and the decisions you made and pulling away, moving away, and everything. That wasn't a resemblance to what your father and mother were like in their home,
No.
Mhm.
correct?
Exactly.
So
Because and
that's
like
so then that goes to my point that your parents your parents set up a nice home. They did they did what you consider to be an awesome job raising their kids, and then you
it was,
feel like you fell short doing it your way, and they didn't teach you that. That was something that you incorporated from elsewhere. And again,
yeah,
i'm not
it
i'm
was
not putting you on a spot or anything. I'm
no.
trying
You're
to
good.
show, yeah, I'm trying to show that that's what a lot of times that is what happens. You can have Johnny B. Bad could be in the basement building bombs, but the parents are letting him play soccer. They're encouraging him to do this, that, and the other. They're always there for him, but there's a hidden agenda that he came up with on his own,
Mhm.
or
Right.
through influences. And I'm think and that's why I mentioned the internet
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep.
TV and friends. We've got kids that live up in Hollywood, hills, and yet and still they're joining cults, they're joining terrorist
Yep.
groups and everything else.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, mom and dad weren't terrorists, and they didn't preach it. They gave him, they had
They
money,
ain't
and they gave
believed
him
it.
what
None
he
of that.
needed. I'm
Right, but
thinking,
a lot of times what you find when you got those type of parents, and I'm not gonna say it happens with all, but
mhm,
I went to school with a lot of rich kids,
Okay.
mm,
right, or well off kids, and the
Yep.
main thing they would say is, "I wish I had your mom."
Wow.
Yep.
It's because
mm,
parents were not around. The parents just gave them money and hired nannies. They had
Told them
more
to get on
respect for the
somewhere.
nanny than they had for the parents.
mm,
Right,
Exactly.
right. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you. My
You know
bad.
what I mean? And so, like, and then when you take that dynamic away, because now the parents see you got more respect for the nanny than them, and they fired the nanny, you
Right.
took away their safe place.
yeah,
Mm.
And so now you just caused the issue that you don't even realize you caused. You
You
Exactly.
don't
already
know how
got
to fix it.
right, you already got bad dynamics with your kid, but now you done took away the one thing they love.
Wow.
And
And
The
the
only
it
thing they
wasn't
person
a
do.
that
toy,
kept
it
the
was a
peace
person.
in the house.
Right. And it wasn't
Yep.
a toy, it was a person. You
Yep.
removed the
yeah,
person that loved them. The nanny took them to school. The nanny made their breakfast. The nanny waited for them at the bus stop. Nanny got them off the bus stop. Nanny took them home, fed them, got them ready for you, got them ready for bed, and left them went home every day.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
Talk them off the
Exactly.
ledge. They not doing no crimes because of the nanny.
Mm.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
And so
And
I dealt with that with a lot of the people I went to school with. And they would say, I just wish that my mom would show up.
Wow.
I wish my mom
wow.
would bake cupcakes for something I got going on.
Wow.
Like they didn't get that. They would go and buy the cupcakes, hand it to them, and say, "Take it to school."
See, and an
mm,
absentee parent is a dangerous thing. An
Right.
absentee mother or
it
father
is.
is a dangerous thing.
Right.
But in you expose that child, to everything that this world can and will do to a child, which is chew them up and spit them directly out.
Ooh-wee.
Right.
And and
Mm,
nobody sees it. And to your point, T, you know, all the stuff that I saw my father do with us, and all the stuff that I saw my father do with us, and all the good things that he did around us and for us and with us, those are things that I want to do with my kids.
Mhm.
But we go back to choices. We go back to the choices that are made. We go back to the consequences of those choices. To
Yeah.
want to run around here, and again, just me being transparent, or me to run around here to have 4 kids and then not really be ever present in any of their lives was and is a hard sticking point for me to this day, because because what I saw my father do, because my father was present in the home, because my father always bridged those gaps between us when there was issues. My mom and my father always communicated when there was an issue, or there was a difference in how they were parenting us. So
Well,
I always saw that. Because
I have this question, right? And I think y'all might have briefly touched on it last week. I'm not really sure. But in the case of the young man that shot the people, right? And they're charging the parent, right? Here's where the one issue I have with the parent is that she even came out her mouth and said that she was told multiple times that her child needed help and they did nothing.
Yes.
Okay.
that's even more dangerous.
So she was told multiple times by the school, we think your son needs help.
Yes.
Nothing was done.
Correct.
Okay. So in this instance, not that you was a absentee parent, because she claimed she was very aware, or she was there, and the father was more there than her. In that situation where both parents was around, but you were told your child needed help and didn't lift a finger to help. Now
Right.
what?
That's
You're
the bad
you're
part to that
you're
right there.
responsible.
Yeah.
You're
I mean, if
accountable.
you're
Now
told,
you're accountable.
if you know and you're told, to me that's a different scenario. That's
Yeah,
different.
because she was told that
Yeah.
she was told and they did nothing. Even
Now,
Not just
leading up,
told, but blatantly told.
blatantly told,
I
Yeah.
even leading up to the day, that it happened.
Yes.
The day that it happened, the school called, told them they had an issue, told them what the issue was, and said he needs help.
Go get
You need to get him help because this is happening too often.
Yes.
Right?
You're accountable.
Instead
As a
of
parent, you're accountable.
instead of taking him home, they left him at the school.
And I blame the school for that part too. Take your child home.
Okay.
See,
Go get the
that's
help and leave the premises.
that
Yeah.
no.
That's
When you do that,
Now.
that type of thing, you as a parent you're accountable now. You're accountable because you were told. You were given explicit information that your child needs help, and you took no action to do it.
No
No,
action.
you're
The
not only
action was, here's the action. They purchased the gun he used for the
The
shooting.
father purchased the gun.
Oh, he needs a gun. We do hunting out here. We believe in this.
Yeah.
what's that gonna solve?
No, and see, that's the reason why I'm actually surprised that the mother is being charged. The
They
father is the one that took him to the store to purchase the gun.
But she posted it. Look at my baby's new
Right.
gun.
She might have posted it,
But he took
but
him.
the daddy took him to buy it.
He did. And that's gonna be that was part of, I believe, her, they tried them separately, because I think she's like, well, I wasn't the one that took him. But you knew what was going on. You knew his gun fascination. And the day of the shooting, he was caught doodling guns on his homework.
Right.
Then
and
you say
he was
you're aware.
making portraits of him.
Yes. Yes. So then the school officials say, oh, and his backpack is so heavy. Why didn't you open?
Right.
Why
Right.
didn't you open it? He's doodling guns. I'm sorry, but had that been a different color child?
Okay.
What's wrong with you, kid?
I'm just saying.
When you are aware and you take no action,
none.
You are accountable. You're accountable.
Guilty. Yeah, you're guilty on that part. Not charged.
Yeah, and so I don't feel bad for the parent being charged.
I don't feel
because
bad.
at this point, if you would have took your kid home that day, maybe this would not have transpired.
And maybe those parents,
and that's a maybe. But at the same time, they don't know if you if you would have never took it to the gun shop. Let's just be clear.
That part
you would have never had access to it. That's the first thing.
Right.
Okay. The second thing is we don't know what would happen. If she would have took him home, he could have done it to them.
That could have happened.
We still don't know. In his brain, his mind was made up that he was going to do something to somebody that day. Period.
But out of 21 pages of the journal, all 21 pages explicitly said I'm going to shoot up this particular school
See,
and locate these particular people.
see,
So you have two parents in the home that are disconnected from him because the mother had been going out and dating
having an
somebody
affair.
else.
Yeah,
And he's texting her,
yeah,
can you at least answer me, Mom? Mom, I need help.
yeah,
Mom, I'm seeing people.
yeah,
Mom, I'm hearing demons.
yeah,
Mom, I'm seeing stuff running around. Oh, he just kids around like that.
yeah,
Mother,
yeah.
really?
That's not kidding around.
Yeah, no.
Demons?
Wait,
Hallucinations?
how old was he again?
When it happened, 15.
15, yeah.
See, so why was he even allowed to have a gun? I
He
mean,
Listen,
granted, the
wasn't.
father bought it, but he's
Understand
15.
it. He wasn't. The father bought it.
he
So
bought
now
it.
you done bought a gun for an underage kid too.
The father
But
bought
that's
I
it.
what I'm
think
saying. That's what
I
I'm
think
saying.
the
He was even supposed
heavier
to.
I think the heavier of the charges is gonna fall on the dad.
Yeah, it
But
should.
Oh yeah.
it's just the
Oh,
fact
he gonna
of the matter, the dynamics of the whole entire situation. One,
Yeah.
this boy watching the mama step out because he knows she's stepping out.
Mhm.
And the daddy in La La Land. I don't know. You know what I mean? His way of
Yeah,
having his
that's
dynamic with his kid, we bond with guns.
Right.
Like that's
yes.
yeah, that's how it was. Like this is your bonding. Okay. Let's
Yes.
hope that bonding don't turn into Freddy Cougar, Jason, and whoever. Because that's what we dealt with.
Michael Myers.
And
Right.
there were other signs coming up that he was very troubled, and
Yeah.
he had some things happen to him, as far as grief, losing some close friends to death, things that contributed. And the thing is, when I was young and going through a dark period of time, I didn't say to my mother, I need a therapist. My behavior might have showed it, my isolation might have showed it. And in this case, this young man was smart enough to say, I realize I need psychiatric help. Now you got a text that says I need psychiatric help due to hallucinations, hearing voices, seeing demons,
Mhm.
and you choose to ignore that. Yes, you are responsible.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Complicit to complete. You are complicit in that because whatever price that the law throws at you, you deserve it.
But what school in 2000 and something sees a child doodling guns and bloodshed and don't open the backpack and say, let's just make sure he ain't trying to do this today, please?
Right.
And we didn't see the need to open it, but we did notice it was very heavy. Excuse me?
First of all, golly.
But my question is, how did you make it into school with it?
See?
Right.
Metal detectors.
Supposedly, you have what they call the nice little neighborhood officers in your school. How
Or
did you
metal
make it?
detectors.
How did you make it in the school if they winding everybody down? How did you make it in school?
Wow.
Yeah, the majority of a rifle's parts are metal. So you can't go past a metal detector without it going off unless they
Did
were
they have a
malfunctioning.
metal
You
detector?
can't.
I didn't hear that in the testimony.
See,
They
They,
don't have
they
one?
said that they had the whatever they call the officers of the school now. All the states
resource
call them
officer.
something different, resource officers or whatever. Ours won the children down.
Right.
So
Yep.
I don't know what the other ones do. But if yours don't do that, then now we know how he got in school.
Now we know.
He
Right.
had to have gotten in that way because
He had
you're
to.
not
But
getting in a
ours
metal
the one
detector
the
with all
children
that.
down. You even have some of the other schools that have with high techish and got the thing that they got at the airport. Put your bag through that right there.
Right. Rolling on.
And they can see everything inside the bag.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
Man, look,
Yes.
yo, we got to get up out of here, man, because
ooh-wee.
this was a great conversation. I promise y'all, because it goes so deeper than what we're talking about right now. But it starts with the first brick that T talked about. That
Yeah.
word that starts with a C, communication.
Communication.
If we're not communicating, then there's no message being sent. There's no message being received. And if we don't receive those messages, how in the world as Black men can we ever bridge a gap with our kids? It starts with us. It starts with communication first. Before we can even build a brick, we got to be able to communicate first. And it's even more important for our Black sons because, like I said earlier, they are a reflection of who we are as men, and and they're going to emulate what we do,
Yes.
good, bad, or indifferent. Same thing with daughters.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to emulate what we do, good, bad, or indifferent. And those things have a trickle down effect on our kids when we are absent in our kids' lives. Brothers, I'm saying this to you. When we're absent in our kids' lives, our children suffer. I've said this before, and we'll continue to say it. When we're absent in our kids' lives, our children suffer. Take it from me. I've been there, and I am currently suffering. I can tell you from personal and firsthand experience, not being present in your kids' lives, they suffer.
Yes.
They suffer and you suffer.
My Lord.
Because when they suffer from the fact of not having that other aspect to their whole. You suffer because you are not present to give them that other aspect to their whole. Gentlemen, what we have to do, and gentlemen, this is important. This is important. This is important. This is important. We gotta understand. We gotta understand that having a child is a responsibility. And laying down with a woman and having a kid does not make you a father. It doesn't make you. It makes you a donor by default.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make you a father. You got to put in the work to be a father. It requires work. It requires diligence. It requires sacrifice. It requires you to give of yourself and give up certain things in order for that child to be happy. When you're not present doing those things, again, kids suffer. And the onus ain't on just the fathers, but I'm talking to us, the men specifically. We'll get to the point of talking about what the roles that the mothers play. We briefly touched on it, but I think LSG is going to touch on that tomorrow, a lot more about that dynamic tomorrow. But I just want us as men to get to a point to where that, and again, my personal experience says this. It speaks to it, and I can give stories to this. We gotta be here. We gotta be here in our kids' lives.
Yes,
Gotta be. And if we're not here in our kids' lives, where they go? If we don't teach them, the streets will teach them.
Ooh, you better know it. You better know it.
And the streets are no mercy. They will chew them. The streets and I'll put it like this: the world at large is no mercy. The world will chew them up and spit them out, and then chew them up and spit them out again. It is our role as fathers to teach them how this world operates.
Yes.
What this world gives, what this world takes. It's our responsibility to show them how to properly navigate.
Yes.
That. Especially, like, again, speaking more specifically to sons. We have to show our sons how to properly navigate this world through humility, through perseverance, through proper thought processes, through proper intelligence gathering, whether it's in dating or anything else. We teach them how to navigate through this world. Because if we let the world do it, yeah, they're gonna be wayward children with no direction. And as if that's not already happening anyway, with the propensity of internet and social media. And I get it. It's a tough job because social media permeates the majority of our lives as people. But we got to find some way to bridge that. And gentlemen, look, on that note, I'm gonna get up out of here because I can say a whole lot to that, but that would take up another couple of hours, and I don't want to do that. So we gonna get up out of here, man. You guys join LSG tomorrow for Girl Chat Weekly. Yeah. And what's your subject, dear? What's your subject?
You said that's just your baby daddy, but he was the love of your life.
Woo, Lord.
Wow. I'm there.
I'm
Mm.
there too. So
We'll just talk
do me a
about it.
favor, do me a favor. Meet us in the chat. Meet us in the chat if you don't get an invite to the studio. So meet us in the chat and let's have this conversation, man. Um,
Mhm.
I want to thank Miss Fenton for coming on. I want to thank T
Yeah.
Wade for coming on. I want to thank Miss Annette Day for coming on. Thank you, sister. I appreciate you. LSG, my tag team partner. You already know what it is. I don't gotta explain that. I don't gotta explain that to you. But I'm gonna take y'all home with a little bit of a song. I call it the one I played earlier. No, it ain't the one I played earlier. It's gonna be one I call Damage Control. It's a
Right.
nice little track, but excuse me, it speaks to what we've been talking about. The other thing before I leave, there is something that's been sitting on my heart. I posted it on Facebook earlier. It's something that's been sitting on my heart and on my spirit for the longest of times. I want to do a show or a series about how we as human beings navigate loss. More specifically, how we as men navigate loss and grief.
A good one.
Because it's not talked about enough. Far
Mhm.
too often when we have these sad or these sad moments, it's usually the mothers and the women that are front page, and there's no spotlight on on the men or the fathers. Not and for obvious reasons, it's not that. But we talk more about what a mother goes through as far as her pain and her grief, but we don't talk to fathers and men and ask them how they're navigating this.
Mhm.
And I put that out there. Miss Dana McKellar, and Taka said she would be there, and I'm honored for her to be there,
Yes.
so we could talk about this and navigate it together. But brothers, this is my personal call. This is my personal call to you. I want you guys to come on and come aboard. Please and thank you. And if you guys want to, hit me up via email, trailblazerradio@gmail.com, and let's get it in. Again, I'm thanking my brother T Wade, thanking Miss Annette Day, thanking Miss Coco Fenton and Miss LSG. They're already off of here. But I'm gonna take y'all home with this track called Damage Control. I love y'all. Y'all be blessed, man. And again, y'all let's take care of each other and let's get this right. Let's get this right. You know what I mean? Let's get it right. I love y'all. We out of here. I love y'all.
Peace.